where does NRS go from here? That's really what I want to talk about today. Now, majority of people, including myself, would just assume that Injustice 3 is the next title. James Gunn, for example, reached out to Netherrealm Studios, and I'm pretty sure they actually met up in person and talked about these things, and we're pretty much discussing the future of DC games going forward. So when that news came out, it just makes the most sense that Injustice 3 could possibly be in the works. And NRS typically follows the same structure with their titles, so anytime they release a game, a brand new game, let's just use MK1 for example, in 2023, but at the same exact time, man, they are also working on the next title. So with the concept that they work on the future game at the same time as the present game, we could say their next title has been in the works for a very long time. Regardless if it drops in 2025, if it drops in 2026 or 2027, you have 3, 4, or 5 years of support on the next title. But on the other side of things, with the control of Warner Brothers, they want to make the most money. And that's just the truth. And it sucks because the greed gets in the way of the creativity, I fear. And NRS just kind of has to accept it for what it is. So even if Netherrealm doesn't even want to make Injustice 3, Warner Brothers is pulling the strings, man. And that's just how it is, and that's how it's been. But if you look at the sales for the Injustice franchise, it makes no sense in the perspective of Warner Brothers as to why they would pursue an Injustice 3 title. Mortal Kombat sales are significantly better than the Injustice series. And this isn't just by a few dollars, man. I'm talking about millions and millions and millions. So when greed comes into it, you would expect a Mortal Kombat game. That's just what it would seem like on paper. And I remember seeing something by Warner Brothers saying that they will support Mortal Kombat going forward, as well as DC. So a lot of people were, up in the air about MK versus DC 2. Something along those lines. It also comes full circle with Injustice 3 possibly being on the timeline again. But outside of that, right, we all understand that Ed Boon is a massive troll. But behind all that trolling, there is some truth that he is giving to the community. So they're not just gonna go ahead and say what the hell the next title is right off the bat. It's always gonna be a mystery up until a few months before release because that's when they start their promo. But if you take a look at Ed's tweets from 2022, man, 2022, he has been talking about remasters, and not only about remasters, but he brought up ideas of a multiverse fighting game. And if you don't live under a rock, what game just got canceled? So because multiverses was flopping, is this a green light for NRS to finally branch out into a new type of fighting game? Do we see the multiverse of characters set into one roster in the hands of Netherrealm Studios? So with the new gen and Unreal Engine, I'm sure they can make a beautiful game, still licensed by WB with all of these IPs, but just use the aesthetic of Mortal Kombat / Injustice and create a guest-based fighting game. And I know that's just a what if, I'm just kind of spitballing, but if you think about the guest characters and the sales and the idea behind pushing so many guest characters, because they sell, man. They absolutely sell every single time. Just take a look at all of the guest characters that Netherrealm brought in. So with the guest characters, we got Freddy Krueger, we got Kratos, Jason Voorhees, Predator, Leatherface, Alien, Spawn, RoboCop, Joker, the Terminator, T-800, Rambo, Ghostface, Omni-Man, Peacemaker, Homelander, Conan the Barbarian, and then T-1000. So just imagine that concept of those characters being in a main roster for a fighting game. That would do numbers, man. I'm sorry. That would be crazy. But as a main fighting game, man, I could definitely see the vision with the production of Netherrealm Studios. I know there's a game out there called Terror Dome. I believe is the title, Terror Dome. Yeah, that sounds right. And that has a bunch of guest characters as well. But it's not no next generation Unreal Engine Netherrealm Studios production, man. Like, you really have to put it into perspective and just see it in a quality-like form in the hands of Netherrealm Studios. Like, bro, you could have Beetlejuice, you could have The Exorcist, you can have Valak, man. Oh my God, imagine that. And just to kind of back this point even further, Ed Boon is currently hosting like polls of past guest characters and allowing the community to vote on which their favorite was. So the topic of guest characters is very like eye-opening if you really read into the cryptic messaging. And I know it could all just mean absolutely nothing at the end of the day, but brother, you never know. You really never know. But back to the Mortal Kombat side of things, They could 100% just give us a bundle of remastered versions from past titles. So they could just sell us an MK9 remaster. They could sell us a Shaolin Monks remaster. But here's my issue with remasters, okay? And it has to do everything with the nostalgia factor. So yes, that is cool, and I would absolutely revisit it and have a great time. The problem with remasters is they do not last, man. They do not last. People will get super hype about it, be excited, and as soon as it drops, play the hell out of it. But as the weeks go by and as the months go by, the player base soon becomes bored. And I know for sure, man, a lot of you guys would not enjoy the game as much as you would a new title, even if it wasn't the title that you wanted. Because at the end of the day, you're just going back to something that you already know. There is nothing really new besides the graphics update. And I'll give you a perfect example because Mortal Kombat 9 became backwards compatible, and honestly, did anybody really give a shit? How many of you still play the iconic Mortal Kombat X? MKX is in my top 3 favorite games of all time, and it might be top 1. I'm not even kidding. I poured my heart and soul into that goddamn game. I haven't played it in years, brother. Years, because it's in the past. I've already experienced it. I don't want to relive that moment again because it was such a unique time in my life personally. It was really what pushed my enjoyment for the franchise further. So when I go back on it, all I can do is smile, but it's not the same as it was in that time frame. So nostalgia to the side, I don't see those remastered games being a focus or a priority for Netherrealm Studios because I just can't really see them benefiting from that concept of just selling pure nostalgia. Now, I gotta be honest because I'm a pretty big fan of the Injustice series, and it really has nothing to do with Netherrealm Studios being the actual developers of the game. I got into MK9 like mid-game, so I wasn't really in its true prime, but I was there day one for Injustice Gods Among Us, man. Let me tell you, that was really where I started to push my knowledge for fighting games. So Injustice kind of hits home for me personally. But on the other hand, I do understand why Injustice isn't really enjoyable for most people. Holding down or back to block is tough. If you're a Street Fighter player, you absolutely love that. But from a Mortal Kombat perspective, you have one single button that allows you to block. So because of that, it leads to cross-up mix, and it's very hard to play defense for most people. And the number one issue with Injustice, man, it is a projectile simulator. And you know, Injustice is a legacy game, meaning it is from Injustice Gods Among Us, the same mechanics and the same gameplay for characters just got carried over into Injustice 2. That is what a legacy game is. So if you played Injustice Gods Among Us, when you got your hands on Injustice 2, you were just right into the action. You already knew what the character did. But the spamming, as most of you would say, is unbearable in Injustice. It's really, really strong. And nobody wants to be spammed because it's annoying and it's not engaging. It's just not fun gameplay overall. So if it ends up being Injustice 3 and we get carried into the same type of legacy concept, I hope they can really limit and, you know, make the game more engaging so the players can actually get a sense of a fighting game and not so much just a projectile war. But one takeaway with Injustice specifically is the roster or the characters in general are so complete, man. They have fully fleshed out kits. And I feel like in Mortal Kombat, sometimes it feels very limited with certain characters. And that's what truly makes the game so fun. From Mortal Kombat 11 to Mortal Kombat 1, the character designs were pretty straightforward, man. Like, you could just pick up a character and be very, very strong. Your pocket character could be considered your main character because they were just so easy to learn. The ease of access isn't my problem. It's making characters so one-dimensional that there's no variety. About 10 characters in Mortal Kombat 1 have the exact same gameplay. Literally, there's no separation between them. The archetypes just aren't there in this game. So even if it isn't Injustice, man, just make sure there are character archetypes. Now that we covered that idea, let's talk about the cameo mechanic. And trust me, I understand that cameos weren't a fan favorite, right? They weren't a fan favorite mechanic at all. And the reason that is because they were never supposed to be in Mortal Kombat. And hear me out, real quick, hear me out. Go watch my reaction video of the gameplay reveal of Mortal Kombat 1. I said the first thing out of my mouth, my first honest reaction, this looks like Injustice. Mortal Kombat 1, in my opinion, was always supposed to be Injustice 3, but it got put on like the back burner because COVID. Literally COVID, man. It's to blame for everything. Cameos make the most sense in an Injustice game because you have the superhero with the sidekick. Simple as that. You have Batman as the main fighter and Robin as the sidekick. Cameos are a great mechanic for an Injustice production, not so much Mortal Kombat. So if sidekick cameos make an appearance in Injustice 3 and that mechanic stays, would you be pissed? Would you accept that? So me personally, man, I wouldn't mind it at all, just because I love labbing stuff. I love just going into practice mode and learning cool ass combos. But I understand that it didn't leave a good taste in people's mouths. So I don't know. I feel like people just don't want that mechanic to ever return. And that might just be what it is. It might just be 1v1s going forward. So with that being said, man, if it is Injustice 3, these are the top 3 characters that I want to see in the main roster. Kilowog, bro. Come on, talk to me nice. If you know, you know. Kilowog is a dog, bro. That's who I want to see. He should have been in Injustice 2 to fight Atrocitus, but it's fine, NRS. I'll let it slide. And the cool thing about having the ring in the Lantern universe is you could get super creative within their design. Like truly, man, your options and your creativity are unlimited. The possibilities are endless right there. Number 2, man, I know he was in Injustice Gods Among Us, but please, NRS, bring back Solomon Grundy. Born on a Monday, he says. Like, he really is such a savage tank character. If you played Injustice Gods Among Us, Solomon Grundy had a chained-like move. So you would do an input into another input into another input, and all of those inputs would lead into a different ender. You would just press circle or B, he would grab you, you go into the chain reaction of moves, and then he just ends with a fucking slam like Batista bomb. This shit was OD, man. So for sure, man, please bring back Solomon Grundy, because the taunting, the grabs, character was a lot of fun. Now, I am a huge supporter of Deathstroke, right? He's one of my favorite DC characters, but just in general, I love the concept of a marksman fighter. So my third pick, man, I would love to see Bloodsport make an appearance. Under the direction of James Gunn, we got to see a little bit of Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba. And within the movie, you can see the mechanical concepts behind the marksman rifles and how he's able to create them on the fly. So if you take that concept and add it into a gameplay design, you could get really creative there, man. So we got Kilowog, Solomon Grundy, and Bloodsport. Guest characters I won't really dive too deep into, but just off the top of my head, Shredder would be sick. The Power Rangers would be godlike. Oh my god, that would be fire, bro. If they could put a pack of 4 Ninja Turtles, just imagine a pack of Power Rangers, bro. I didn't even really care about Power Rangers growing up. It's just the idea, like the gameplay would be phenomenal. It would be so sick. And then you gotta have a Mortal Kombat character. I know you guys are gonna hate me for that, but Liu Kang, come on, give us Liu Kang. So let's just end it there, man. That's really what I wanted to talk about today, kind of my thoughts going forward. I'm curious to know what you guys think, though, like genuinely curious what you think is the next title coming. Are you open to remasters? Are you open to the multiverse concept? And which characters, if it is Injustice 3, do you want to see in the main roster? But I enjoyed chatting with you guys, man, and I appreciate you listening to my dumb ass. But I'll definitely be reading those comments, man, so drop them down below. Thank you guys for watching again. I'll catch you in the next one.